You are listening to Paranormal Radio on 99.7 in Chicago and 104.1 in St. Louis. And now, once again, your host, the voice of darkness, Captain Jack.
Tonight, very special guests tonight. Noe and Ruben from Mexico's Roswell is here tonight to talk more with us. And they've actually come with some interesting stuff for us. Now, in case you missed the opening of the show, they are going to be on the new History Channel show, UFO Hunters, that's starting in February. And we're going to talk a little bit about that here in a moment. Ruben, Noe, are you with me?
This is Noe coming at you from Texas, and Ruben's here with us.
Fantastic.
I'm calling from the East Bay of Northern California.
So you guys aren't very far from each other. You guys are just a little hop and a jump and a skip.
Yeah, 2 time zones away, basically.
Yeah, good. Well, hey guys.
One of the really interesting things about all this, our collaboration, has been that the internet has afforded us whole new ways to transfer information back and forth. And even though we live so far apart, thousands of miles apart, we're constantly in communication with each other and sending files back and forth and pictures and talking to each other over the voice chat.
Right.
And it's just such a wonderful thing to have this technology at hand, and it has really helped us to open up some of these cases that haven't been looked at in quite a long time.
You just reminded me of something, and I'll talk to you about it off air, as a matter of fact. But I'm glad you said that, because it reminded me to ask you both. Have an important question actually for both of you, but I'll talk to you about that a little bit more. I want to bring everybody up to speed on this particular incident about your book and the information that you have and the upcoming event on the History Channel. I want to bring everyone up to speed. So if you just kind of go through a little bit about the information behind the story. Let's start off with that.
Yes, this is one of the most amazing UFO stories that Ruben or I have ever heard. Ruben's been in the field of UFO investigations for over 20 years, member of MUFON. He's the director of the Northern California chapter of MUFON, and I've been a writer and researcher for a number of years as well, and have always been interested in UFOs and UFO cases, particularly in Texas and the Southwest. About 2 years ago, I heard this amazing story that a UFO had collided with a small plane in Southwest Texas, near the border with Mexico, in the area of Big Bend National Park, and just about 20 or 30 miles across the Rio Grande River into the area of the Chihuahuan Desert of northwestern Mexico. So I had heard that there was a crash. It had been rumored for years. It had been bouncing around on the old electronic bulletin board systems, BBSs, of the late 80s and early 90s. And the story had gotten out that this incident had occurred, that UFO had been spotted over the Gulf of Mexico inbound to Texas at over 2,000 miles per hour. It had been tracked by military radar as it rounded the southern tip of Texas and came into northern Mexico. And then at the same time that UFO was streaking across northern Mexico, there was a small passenger airplane taking off from El Paso Airport in West Texas, and it was headed down to Mexico City at the time. And it so happened that those two aircraft collided. According to the radar data that was looked at afterward, the 2 points on the radar became one. There was a collision right over the small Mexican village known as Coyame in the state of Chihuahua. That's a very small town, population 600 people. And it's a story that gets even more amazing after the collision of the two aircraft, because then what happened next, Jack, was we had both the U.S. government and the Mexican government in an all-out race to recover the debris from that crash. And I know Ruben and I have looked at it. We've been down there where this happened. We've interviewed witnesses. we've spoken at numerous conferences and gotten a whole bunch of additional feedback. It continues to be a story that's very much open, brand new. It's like the early days of the Roswell, New Mexico UFO crash. It's every bit as exciting, as some people have said, even more so.
Now, how did this information actually start getting leaked out about this incident?
Well, basically, back in the early 90s, there was this report that was released by some anonymous persons. This report was called the Deneb Report, and it was given to the late Dr. Leonard Stringfield, who was a researcher on crash retrievals, and it was also given to a number of other researchers, UFO investigators during that time. And there's another one. Her name is Elaine Douglas. She and a number of other researchers were involved in the on the information freedom just cause, or they were trying to get the Washington to release any documents or files on UFOs in general. But as a result of that, the History Channel was doing a whole series of Roswell-type crashes and scenarios, and I got involved thanks through our international director for MUFON back then was Mr. John Schuessler. He had contacted me because I had some connections already with a number of UFO researchers in Mexico. So I had connected them with these researchers, and then I found out that they were then focusing a whole story on the Coyame crash that Noah just spoke about. And so they aired that on the program, and I was part of that segment there. And that's when Noah had saw the documentary, and then he had contacted me later, and we began collaborating notes and information, and we knew that there was a lot more to this whole case, which it's just totally has been a fascinating journey there, Jack.
You know, I have to admit that just from everything that you have told me about this, and looking it up in all the information about this, and a lot of this information is, I mean, it happened way back in the 70s. I mean, we didn't know about it for a very, very long time, and so this is a very new case of all the information that's coming out about it. Am I correct?
It's very, very interesting that Roswell, New Mexico UFO crash 1947, it really did not break open until about 1978 or 9, when Stanton Friedman, who is, I notice, is an upcoming guest on your show here in a few days. Oh, yeah. Stanton Friedman went down to Louisiana, and he first made contact with Jesse Marcel Sr., who was the Army intelligence officer at the Roswell Army Air Force Base at that time. And so 1979 was when the Roswell story was first started to develop based on Stanton's interview with Marcel, and then the subsequent publishing by Berlitz of the first book on the Roswell incident, which was published in 1980, 1981, that era. So, and what's really, really interesting, Jack, is that we have about the same time lag from 1974 to now as there was from the New Mexico Roswell incident in 47 to the time it first started opening. Now, one of the things that Ruben and I have speculated about this time lag is that you have military officials who have been involved in cases like this who are under the strictest orders to not divulge anything that they've seen in their involvement with these cases. But then, as it gets to the point where they're toward the where they've left the military, they're in retirement, they're possibly nearing the end of their lives, and a lot of them will start reevaluating, what it was they experienced and wanting to go public with it, as is the case with Colonel Robert Willingham, whom we'll talk about later, and we have an audio clip from him